I wanted to make this video today about what I see as the main differences between Lovable and Bubble. So if you're familiar with Lovable, it is now, I think, the fastest growing Swedish startup in history. And definitely the fastest, honestly, might be one of the fastest growing startups in history in general. They just raised $200 million at a $1.4 billion valuation, I think it was. And it's fantastic what they've done so far. In fact, I think that the company is definitely onto something and will probably end up being one of the most pivotal tools in our arsenal as founders building products. And so I definitely highly recommend using it. Not sponsored by Lovable, but I think it's a great tool. And I think that anybody should start experimenting with it. Now, with that being said, Lovable is for the use case of a founder who may not be a tech founder and might be interested in using these tools. It's not there yet to completely build software for you. That's the claim that it makes, but it's not there yet. There's some new things that they're introducing, like Lovable Agent, for instance, is out now, that are significantly improving the software. But the main use cases that I've seen for Lovable are very simple apps, which is not a bad thing, to be completely clear. In fact, if your goal is to make revenue, if that's your main goal, and you want something simple that can make revenue as quickly as possible, then you're actually going to be in luck with Lovable, because it's going to remove a lot of the constraints that you normally are going to have when you're thinking about building an app. Because for most people, I've been down this road before, you actually overthink app development. You try to build way too much than is necessary. And so Lovable is interesting because it actually forces you to think very simple. And the reason why I say that there's limitations is because ultimately, when you're let's say a non-technical founder and you're using Lovable, you are going to be able to prompt it, and you can connect to Supabase and do all these things to enhance its feature set. But there's a lot of limitations that are in the form of like off-the-shelf things you can just pull in. So for example, Lovable doesn't have as robust of a plugin set, feature set for now that you would get with something like Bubble. Bubble has a huge, robust feature set and plugin set that you can integrate just to have off-the-shelf solutions. With Lovable right now, you are going to be telling the AI what exactly you want in every step. I'll explain to you my take on, what Lovable is really good at right now. Lovable is really good at building landing pages, really good landing pages. And I think in its V1, it was essentially a replacement for something like Webflow. And building landing pages with something like a simple, easy to set up user authentication structure. Now, I think that's going to change dramatically in the coming months. And there's people probably ready to go in the comments saying Lovable is not just for landing pages. And I get that because a lot of the apps you're seeing built on Lovable that are actually scaled in production are ones when people have some kind of technical experience, at least from what I've been seeing. So if you're somebody who doesn't have any technical experience, you jump into these apps, I think you're going to be kind of confused. But I also do think that the line between what makes someone technical and non-technical is blurring substantially, because you have people who are, non-technical, but they learn all the documentation inside of Lovable on how to use the platform effectively and how to effectively prompt engineer. And because they're doing that, they are kind of technical to an extent, like they're understanding the technicalities of how Lovable works. Now, the thing about Bubble is, even though it's pretty bad, honestly, when it comes to AI prompting to build out pages. I mean, I would definitely say that it's not there yet. And of course, you have to, the code features, just to code anything in general on Bubble is pretty limited. You can obviously do it, but to extend the app requires a lot of maneuvering, right? So I wouldn't consider it something to build software in that way, like you can with Lovable, where you actually get the code and you can edit the code, right? But with Bubble, you can build full production apps, even if you're someone who's never written a line of code, right? And so that is, I think the difference is that there's a lot of people I'm seeing getting apps really close to the finish line with Lovable that don't have technical experience and sort of are super excited about the process and can get the app really close. But when it actually comes to getting it in production, getting out there to people, the apps are very simple. So that's not a bad thing, again, because it actually means a lot of these apps are actually making money really quickly, which is amazing. But they're very simple. But if you're trying to build something more complex, you're going to usually need to work with someone on it. Whereas with Bubble, you could build something more complex even as a non-technical user. I do think these two companies are converging, though, dramatically, in a sense that Lovable is getting much closer to its promised goal of being able to be the last piece of software. It could happen. I don't know exactly if it will, but it could be very close, or at least a very fully usable tool that you could build software on, and has a lot of the complexity that it's promising. To build complex apps without needing a team to work on it with you. That would be pretty incredible if they could do it. And some would argue that they already are able to now. Because at the end of the day, remember, if you're given the code editor with Lovable, then you can build anything you want on the platform, right? Anything you would normally do on a traditional code base, like before Bubble, right? Before that even was a thing. So to that end, you can build anything. It's just a matter of, for a non-technical founder who's trying to build something, it's not fully there yet, I would say. And then for Bubble, it's converging because it's already, if you go onto the website, the first thing you see is the same thing as Lovable. It's the prompt where you can enter a prompt and say what you want to build. So Bubble's becoming more of that too. It's very difficult to say which one's going to win. I know Lovable has a lot of momentum right now, and I don't even know if it's necessarily a case of who's going to win in general. Like I know, for instance, Bubble is SOC 2 compliant, I believe. And I don't know about Lovable. And I don't know if it fully matters because you could technically build anything you want on the platform. I'm not super familiar with SOC 2 compliance, so. But I think for now, if you're somebody who is interested in working with either platform, I say do it, because at the end of the day, both teams have hundreds of millions of dollars that they fundraised, and they're both moving forward incredibly quickly to build really solid solutions. And I think that anybody who uses them will ride the wave of those advancements. Not to mention that other tools like ChatGPT itself are moving dramatically fast as well. Hope this is helpful. And I'll be making more videos like this going forward for founders, specifically business people who are trying to use technology to grow their companies and want to stay up to date with all the tools. Thanks.